Nothing works until you do the work. Hi everyone, my name is Parul and thank you so much for being with me in this journey. Today I'm flipping the script as I was interviewed on Talking from Scratch, the weekly podcast with George McGuinn, who interviews some of the most interesting and authentic people globally living on the front lines of business. I promise you will get tons of value from this episode as you will expect to learn number one, how did I overcome setbacks, trolls, and criticism to keep myself motivated in the world of YouTube while managing a demanding full time job? Number two, what are the powerful strategies to boost your career growth? Number three, what do you do with your personal finances? What does financial freedom truly means and what is long-term wealth? Number 4, why passive income is so crucial to help you get out of your regular 9 to 5 job. Stick around because I'm going to be spilling the beans on all the secrets. Let me know what do you think of each of my answers. It was an impromptu interview, so definitely let me know in the comment section. And of course, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you never miss out on any latest video. Feel free to jump to any section. The timestamps are given below. The podcast is also available on Spotify. The link to that is given below. So grab a cup of coffee, enjoy the session, and chat soon.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. Today's guest is content creator, finance and investment influencer, and data scientist Parul Oberoi. Parul somehow also manages to work in the world of data and artificial intelligence when she isn't passing on her knowledge and wisdom to her followers on YouTube. A theme we begin to look at today is productivity purgatory. If you attach your self-worth to being productive, even your relaxation protocols merely gamify your performance tomorrow. Whether you read a book, take a run, or lift weights, is it because you enjoy the activity? Or have you learned to regulate your amygdala so that your dopaminergic scales are balanced in the morning after 9 hours of sleep and apple cider vinegar? Words from Dr. Huberman, not so much me. Parul has found a great balance in her pursuits, but it's important to find your own way. Delayed gratification in the extreme is no gratification. If you're never able to escape your search for increased productivity, you may be in purgatory too. Expect to learn why nobody is taught about money in school, how Parul started with content creation, and why she was willing to be mocked, hated, and trolled to follow her passion. When her content started to gain more attention, the impact she's had on women in the finance and data world, and much more. I hope you enjoy the episode. When you think about a YouTube sensation or a streamer, you might think video games, American teenagers, but I stumbled upon an awesome channel maybe 6 months ago and clicked follow. Fast forward to today, and I'm pleased to welcome the host of ASK, Always Seek Knowledge, Parul Oberoi.
Thank you so much, George.
Do you want to give the people an introduction into who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Parul. I'm originally from India, migrated to Australia some time back. And as part of my full-time profession, I am a senior leader in the data analytics profession, but also a part-time content creator. And I have my channel, Ask Parul, and Ask stands for Always Seek Knowledge, because I am passionate about gaining knowledge, and through this channel, I like to impart my knowledge and insights to other people.
They say that for every minute of video footage, there's an hour of content or work that goes into it. Even if that's remotely true, how do you manage to do this part-time with the job you have as well?
It's very difficult. And like I said, I call it part-time because, of course, it is not full-time, but I think it is a job in itself, I would say. And especially because I started a year back, but like I said, I have been making consistently for last 6 to 8 months. With time, obviously, your efficiency improves. So something which took me a lot more time, I would say 6 months back, now takes me much less time than that. So I think with time, you obviously improve and you build your efficiency. But I also feel that even though the time it takes to create a video, like you said, is probably an hour worth, but there is constant work that goes into it. You have to constantly think about the topic, you have to research keywords, then you have to shoot it out, then you edit it out. So I usually have my schedule laid out a few weeks or a month in advance, so that at least I don't have to think at the moment that, okay, what I'm going to make. So I usually, because I read a lot, I observe a lot, so I try to, whenever I have an idea, I try to write it down on my Excel sheet or everything. So I usually have my schedule laid out. I'm trying to get as efficient as I can, but like I said, it's a journey in itself. I've learned so many things which has improved my efficiency, but definitely it's not easy. So I'm obviously sacrificing a lot of my personal time into it, but it's fine. I think this is a path that I've chosen for myself. It has paid off so far. So that's the motivation that's driving me to keep working on this.
Like for me, whenever I'm listening to an audiobook or reading a book, I'm constantly stopping and making notes. So I'm thinking, like, this could be me reading, this could be reading time, but really it's time that's going into creating content. It sounds like it's the same for you. If you were to even put a ballpark number of the hours you might spend each week kind of putting into this, what do you think where might sit?
I think if you are really serious about it, you should definitely aim for 2 to 3 hours every day, I would say. And that can be in different shape and form. It can go into reading, following your channel, tracking the analytics, promoting, etc. So I would say 2 to 3 hours every day. So yeah, 7 days into 2 to 3 per.
7 days as well?
Yeah.
Full 7, 21 hours a week. Because I've actually been conducting a personal study, observational study, not fact, not science. I've been watching people that work in this building from the office window for a few months now. And I've noticed, I picked out 3 individuals. They arrive at 9:30 each day. They leave at around 5. They go for a coffee, 10, 10:30, 11. They queue for a sandwich at maybe 12:30. I reckon they work 19 hours a week in their full-time job. So it sounds like your part-time content creation is more than some people's full-time job.
Absolutely. And I think it's not really 2 to 3 hours dedicated. You have to pick out pockets of time. I'm traveling in a train, I'll do something around it. I'm just out of leisure, I'm doing something. So I think it's not really that you have to sit on your decks. Of course, when I'm shooting and etc., then that's something I usually do the weekends, because that's when I have the most time. But even during weekdays, like I said, I found out these bits and bits of time. And we spend so much time wasting on social media, actually. If you look around people, they're wasting on Instagram or other stuff. You might as well leverage it for something meaningful and something more useful. That's how I see it.
For all the consumers, people need to create as well. But I think what struck me about your channel was the advice you're giving. The message, the willingness to answer important questions that aren't necessarily available everywhere, especially from like someone as qualified as you. I'm sure we can all get the random expert that spent half an hour watching a YouTube video and now decides they are an expert. Where did this entire kind of career and ecosystem start for you?
So I started my career back in 2007 when I did my engineering. I was overseas in India at that time. Computer science graduate, worked for a few years in the industry, coming from a software technical background. Worked for 3 years in a telecom company, Nokia Siemens. At that time, it was called Nokia Siemens. But I've always had an inclination towards a management career. So I always knew that I wanted to get into a management career. So I started preparing for my MBA and my master's. I gave many exams. Finally landed up in one of the prestigious institutes, SPGen, School of Global Management. I went to Singapore, then I went to Dubai to finish my MBA, and I did it in finance and marketing. So that's where the finance studies also was helpful in my channel as well. And then I worked in Malaysia for a few years as a management consultant in the technology space only. But then I realized through the trends while talking to a lot of clients that future is going to be data. And I'm not just talking about AI and other stuff which has come now. Even at that time, things like cloud, things like big data, etc., were picking up. It was like the hype. So I obviously knew that in future, the traditional way of consulting is going to probably be obsolete, I would say, and it's going to be more around data-driven consulting. So after a few years working in traditional consulting setup, then I planned to upgrade my knowledge around data. So while I was working, I obviously did post-graduation in business analytics. And then I worked in various consulting firms. I think I had a natural flavor of advising people and consulting people as well, which was very helpful. And then kept growing in the management career in leadership roles. Came to Australia, then started my journey over here, worked in a few consulting firms and industry roles as well. So yeah, moved around quite a bit, different jobs, but for past many years, I've been in data-driven consulting primarily.
It sounds as though you looked upon data and you thought, that's the future. Now you're in the future. Is data still where it's going to be for the next 10, 15 years?
Absolutely. I think the data storage costs have gone down. The original issues that people had around security, etc., that has gone down. Everyone is now open towards storing, cloud, etc. Now we have generational AI, for example, coming in. So I don't think it's a hype anymore. It is a fact and a reality. And organizations are now spending tons and tons of money in transferring their data from legacy to now cloud systems to become a lot more efficient. So I think organizations that have not yet thought about being digital or not being data driven, they are lagging behind. And organizations that have actually taken that leap of faith, like 5 years back, they are now reaping the fruits of it. And COVID is a great example. Everything was shut. Imagine if you don't have digital processes and everything, how you would have survived, right? So I don't think it's a hype anymore. It's a fact and something which will continue to progress.
So you backed the right horse, you found the right career. Did that give you a lot of validation that you were kind of picking the right opportunities for yourself?
I think so. I think this was the best decision of my career, I would say. I am assuming the best is yet to come, but so far, obviously, whatever decisions I've taken, I feel that it was the right decision, because now when I look back and when I compare to my, let's say, colleagues or other people that I know of, I just feel I'm in a much better industry as compared to some of the other people.
You came from an esteemed university, high percentage of, I'm going to read the stats. The Accreditation Council in 2019 gave a grade of A+ at the CGPA with a 3.44 overall. So you had like pretty high standards in education. What was the influence that education and university had on you?
I think because I come from a very traditional family where education was always very, very important. And nowadays education you can get from anywhere. But at that time, getting into a proper university was considered as the most traditional and the best way to educate yourself. So there were a few things that I definitely learned. One is that you learn from so amazing professors who are so good in their respective careers, let's say in corporate finance. I remember we had great professors of economics. So I feel learning from such amazing people and so knowledgeable people definitely helped me a lot. And the second is the peer group. The networking that you form is amazing. I'm still in contact with some of the people that I met when I was in my university, which is definitely helpful. And the third is that because I did it overseas, it obviously opened the doors for cross-cultural collaboration as well. I remember we had people from Singapore, Malaysia, and different other parts of the world. So I think it obviously helps in understanding different cultures as well.
Is there any professors in your past where they really kind of stood out, whether it was a certain lecture or seminar or individual that really grabbed your attention?
My favorite subject was global economics, actually. And we had a professor, Preeta George. She's an Indian, but she was lecturing in global economics for quite some time. And I think that was my favorite subject at that time.
What stood out? Were you about to head into class thinking, I can't wait to kind of to take in this information.
Yeah, I think I just naturally loved it. Like there was a law of marginal utility and how the global economy works, trade and goods work. So I just felt that I had that I just loved that subject. I don't know why, but I just had that natural inclination towards that subject.
Coming out with such a strong peer group and alumni, did you leave university with this burning ambition?
I've always been an ambitious person, I would say. So like any other young graduate, you obviously feel like, okay, I'll just rock the world and everything. But the reality is not exactly the same. Of course, the university just gives you a headway, but I think you still have to create your own path. You still will run into the same challenges which any normal corporate person would undergo. So yes, I did come out with that ambition, and that's why my plan after studying overseas was to go back to my home country, but I think life had different plans for me. So I moved to Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, where I had an amazing time. But yes, I felt that I did have a strong desire to now go into the corporate world, put all my learnings into work and create some amazing results. But like I said, I think the reality is always slightly different.
I was going to ask about the travel. You've clearly lived and experienced a few different cultures and cities. What has driven you to kind of move overseas, learn overseas, work overseas, and kind of keep traveling?
Frankly speaking, I am that kind of person. I'm still that kind of person who's very attached to my family and my roots. So it was very hard for me to take that step. But I also felt, and this is something that I've learned over a period of time, that it's also very important to have a global profile. And I'm not saying just from the monetary standpoint or other things. I think in life in general, you learn so much more. You become a lot more resilient. When you're outside your comfort zone, you tend to see so many different people from so many different cultures. Australia is a great example because I think over here we have people from whole parts of the world. So I feel... to answer your question, it was never in my plan, but I just felt that destiny had those plans where I just was out of my home country for a fair bit amount of time. But that helped.
In the UK, when I was young, and this may still be on television today, they would take a family, usually with children as well, and they would go to Australia for let's say for a month or 6 weeks. And they'd go back to the UK, and they'd often swap with someone. I think this was the premise of the show. And after this 4 or 6 week period, they would have a look to see whether it was going to be viable for them to move to Australia. They'd go and speak to family, friends, aunties, grandparents, and then they'd hold this card. On one side of the card was Australia, and the other side Britain. The thing that always shocked me was how unsupportive family members were. So there'd be a grandparent say, "I'm never going to see my grandkids," or I'll only see you once a year. It's so far. What about you? You're close to your family. Were they supportive, or were they as unsupportive as the British public that I used to watch on television?
No, I think they were very supportive. Of course, they felt bad that, okay, you will not be around. So, like you said, we'll just be able to see you once a year. So that normal apprehensions and how you will manage on your own and other stuff, because they care for you, right? So I think those things were always there. But I don't think my family was ever unsupportive of every decision that I took. And I think it also boils down to what sense of conviction you have in your own decisions, right? Because if you have a strong conviction in your own decisions, then I think other people do tend to follow that as well.
Could anyone have stopped you anyway?
Not really. Like I said, I think they, of course, had those apprehensions and the fact that how you will manage on your own. It's a totally new country, etc., etc. You will far away. So I think that was coming from love and care, but not from the fact to stop. I don't think anyone should stop. Tomorrow, if I have my kids, obviously I don't want to stop them from doing anything, because it's their life ultimately. You need to carve out your life the way you want it to be.
Talking of life, talking of career, when did you feel like you started to gain traction in the career you'd chosen?
I think, like I said, right, previously, when I moved into the data industry, I think that was a turning point of my career, which I think lent a lot of stability to my career. And the fact that this field is ever growing. So you constantly have to learn new things. You have to constantly reinvent yourself. I think that 2015, when I took that decision that I want to enter into the industry, I think that was a turning point. And it's been like 8 or 9 years in this industry already. I just felt, like I said, I felt that was so far the best decision of my career.
It seems as though you're certainly willing to embrace a level of risk. But you did mention the stability of kind of finding this career. Has it provided you with a foundation that you know is there, that you know is kind of your center mass you can always return to, and that's giving you an ability to kind of build on that without having to worry?
See, I think there's always, when you're entering something new, for example, content creation, for example, at that time when I had to enter the data industry, for example, when I migrated to Australia, there's always an element of uncertainty and risk. But I also feel that risk isn't everything. I mean, you have to just take calculated risks. At the max, what will happen? It will not work out. You will choose something else, right? So I just always feel that it's, with time, I have realized that it's not the end of the world. It's all right. Even if something doesn't work, it's still worth trying it out.
What's the biggest lessons that have stuck with you so far?
In my career?
Yeah, let's say the biggest lesson in career and the biggest lesson in content.
I think the first thing is, when it comes to career and content, obviously, I think you need to, from a content perspective, I think you need to be receptive to feedback. And feedback can be negative and positive. It hurts. It really hurts when somebody gives you negative feedback. But I think you also have to filter down what is really making sense versus what is just nasty. So that's something that I've developed over a period of time. Of course, when I started, I used to, because when you made something, you're so attached to it, you always want people to appreciate that, but that's not always the case. So being receptive to feedback, and from a content perspective, I think time management is really, really important. Like you were saying at the start, right, that multiple things to manage. So I just feel that I need to constantly be efficient with my time and how productively I'm working, and being consistent, because you have to show up every now and then for your audience. If I'm away, let's say for a couple of months, people will just forget about me totally, right? So I think I have to be consistent, which is a challenge. From a career perspective, I think the biggest learning that I've had is to not be resistant towards change. That has been my biggest learning, because sometimes change can be a blessing in disguise. I've had some of the best decisions I took because I was put into situations that demanded things to get changed. So I feel that for me, that has been the biggest learning, that don't be averse to change. If you see a change coming in, it's fine. Just go with the flow, and then you would be all right still.
Was you quite reluctant to change?
I am.
You are?
I am. As a person, I love my comfort zone.
you don't come across that way. You're constantly
That's
pushing
what
yourself.
I say, right?
Yeah. It seems like you said you like your comfort zone, but you actively push yourself out of it.
Yes. I have to do that because I know comfort zone can be dangerous. And like I said, I think I also feel that whether I like it or I don't like it, I have been put into situations where I have to get out of my comfort zone. So, even though I love my comfort zone, but I feel that, everything new starts with that uncertainty, and it takes time before it becomes your comfort zone, right? So you have to still go through that journey, even in the content field, for example. It will be uncomfortable initially because you're bombarded with so many things and you're constantly on the go. But maybe after you've spent a few years, that would give you the fruits of your actions.
Well, let's talk about the environment you kind of came through, because I think the stats are right on this, but at the time you went to university, only 31% were female. Did it feel fairly lopsided from a gender diversity perspective, studying where you did?
It's always like that. In the university, I remember we were 90 students and just 18 were female. So imagine the rest 78 were all males. Even in the professors that were there, I think it was only few of them which were female. even where I'm working with 10 people, I'm the only female. So I think it's just the reality of most of the places. Can't help it. But I would wish that we have more and more female representations. And if I can play a contributing role in that, I would be glad to do that.
Are you having to kind of set your own example and create your own path? It looks like there's not that many people for you to follow.
I do follow a lot of people. So, for example, I do follow Indra Nooyi. She's the CEO of PepsiCo. I've read her books as well. Sheryl Sandberg, she's the CEO of Facebook. But I also feel that you can take inspiration from others, but you still have to have your own journey because you don't know what circumstances they are in and their life choices. So I obviously admire a few people for what they have done. So, for example, Indra Nooyi, like I was saying, she came from Chennai, which is southern part of India, very traditional Brahmin family, went to the US, became the CEO of a US company. It's not easy. So I think you should look up. I still do look up to such female figures for inspiration, but I still want to create my own life and my own journey.
When did you kind of carve out this work ethic? Because you might have that inspiration, you might have those role models to look to, but it takes like plenty of discipline and work to kind of keep climbing. Where does the work ethic come from?
I think a couple of things. The first thing is that with time you realize your personality. You understand that what kind of a person I am. So I think, like I said, you can't really compare yourself to someone else or copy yourself to someone else because they are their own person. So with time, I realize that what kind of a person I am, what ticks me off. So I think a lot of self-introspection, self-management, discipline, like you rightly said, having good lifestyle choices and habits. Some of it comes from my family as well, because I think they instilled some really good habits into our lifestyle as well. And then I think that sometimes it's just the natural drive of trying to be somebody who has done something meaningful in their life. But like I said, I've failed many times. So I'm not claiming that I'm perfect or anything by any means. I've failed many times. You can claim it,
Parul. You can say if you're perfect. It's fine.
No, I'm not. Like I said, I failed so many times because that's why I said, right? Because when you put up your content out in the public or you follow a public figure, we always tend to feel that their life is perfect. Nothing is perfect, actually. Everyone has had bumps on the road. And same has been with me as well.
I read a quote by Zig Ziglar. Said, if you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. Do you think that quote resonates with you?
Absolutely. I think I always feel, and this is something that I also spoke in one of my videos, as the top 3 professional tips, which is always be a lifelong student. And when I say a lifelong student, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go out and get your master's or a PhD, but be curious towards things. Don't just be limited with the amount of knowledge that you have. Always be curious, ask questions, learn from other people, your mentors, your peer group, your friends, colleagues. I tend to do that because I have a very curious mindset, trying to understand things. But I feel that it's helpful if you can invest in your learning path.
If learning is the investment, what's the return on investment? What's the ROI?
Many ROI. I think one is that you become a lot more wiser, so you can improve your quality of life. Second is that because you have knowledge, you can make better decisions in life. You just don't accept the status quo anymore. You tend to question that, hey, why? And sometimes when I question, people can get uncomfortable, but that's all right, Even if I'm wrong, at least help me understand if I'm wrong. And the third is, in terms of actual monetary benefit, for example, you can make better decisions. So let's assume you made some investment decision. It's a good decision. It will pay you off in the future.
If someone paid you $100 million to never make content again, would you accept?
You're putting me in a difficult spot. Maybe not. I would still make it Because I think that's not coming from a content. I mean, content creation is not just for monetizing or anything. I think it's primarily coming from living a life of purpose, having something to offer to the world. It's not just about taking. It's also about giving. So I feel that my rationale to make content is not just to monetize, but it is primarily to also have some purpose in life. You have something to offer to the world.
If I ever look at a day when I'm absolutely satisfied at the end, it's not a day when I've lounged around doing nothing. It's a day where I've had everything to do and done it. Are you addicted to being busy?
I would not say that I'm addicted to being busy.
You just turned down $100 million to continue working and learning. So I'm wondering, are you sure?
Well, yeah, I think I would still continue to make it. Like I said, I think it's not really about the monetary. Yes, that's there because you are spending time, right? And time is money. So of course that's there. But like I said, it's also partially coming from purpose as well. But yeah, like I said, I'm not saying that I'm busy or anything. I feel that we all have 24 hours in a day. I have my days where I procrastinate. I'm just had a lazy day. I don't feel like going to the work or anything. But I also feel that that should not be the lifestyle. That's not the lifestyle that I would want for myself. Yes, you will have occasional days here and there, but by and large, if I'm productive, if I'm growing in my life, I think that just gives that gives a like a great sense of satisfaction. And that for me is really important in life. What I'm doing, it's fine, but that sense of satisfaction is important.
It's not something I really paid attention to until probably the last 5 years, where I started to think, what was the purpose? What's my is this purpose driven? What am I getting from this? Before that, everything would happen just organically. You go to work, you do the work, time ticks by. What purpose did you take in your early work, or was it just you being young, work coming at you, ticking off the boxes?
Not really. I think I always had a growth mindset, I would say. So I always felt that just because somebody is asking me to do something, I'm not going to just do it blindly. There has to be some purpose, there has to be some rationale, there has to be some meaning. So I think I created my own path. Of course, I'm not saying that I used to get along with everyone. No, definitely, because when you are that kind of personality, you will obviously not just you, because I always wanted to lead. I wanted to create a sense of my own direction. And yes, sure, I would respect everyone else's point of view, but I would also have my own view as well. So I think, like I was saying previously, I think you need to learn to accept yourself the way you are. What makes me feel inspired, and what makes me feel inspired is when I'm in a charging position, when I can lead, not blindly following what I'm being told to do so. And I think when I do that content creation, that sense of freedom that I get from it, it's very satisfying.
How did you start to bring your skill set and your experience and combine that and create content? Did you just wake up one day thinking, yep, I'm going to do this now? Or did it start to spill out? Were you starting to maybe give one or two people advice? What was the path there?
I didn't take anyone's advice. So one day, I think I remember it was November 20th or something, I just took my phone. Basically, I just thought of what I'm good at, because you need to be good at something before I even talk about something. I never create content around things that I have never personally witnessed, or I don't have data to back that up, or this is not something which I'm really skilled at. So I think, and that's something innate in me, because I feel there are a lot of content creators who just go out and put copy pasted answers. So I just felt one day, what am I good at? So I realized that I've worked so hard in my career, 14, 15 years, with a bumpy ride. So I have a lot of good professional advice to offer. And by the way, I used to do that with my friends as well. So a lot of my friends used to call me or family members for advice. So I always knew that I'm good at advising people. Second is because I had a finance background, and good with money management as well. I hope I have that natural inclination around reading on finance and investments. So I thought, yeah, this is also good stuff. So I just created a list and then just ticked off the things that I'm good at. And then one fine day, I took my phone. I didn't have professional cameras or anything. I just took my phone and I recorded and I posted it. I was very scared to post it. What will people think about it? You know? But in my first video, I got some decent response. But of course, I think then there was a time from November until April when I didn't create a lot of content because I just felt maybe I'm not good enough. What will people think about me? I really don't have much to offer. You have those negative self-talks, etc. But then, yeah, from April onwards, then I started becoming more and more consistent with it because I realized that I have value to add.
What will people think? Who are the people that you think will think?
Friends, family members.
Friends and family members are the ones coming to you asking for advice.
Yeah, but
if
then
anything, this can speed things up.
Yeah.
Say, listen, stop calling me, jump on my channel, every answer you need is right there. Surely they are the ones crying out for it, and this just gives you a chance to expand. So
yeah.
I'm wondering if those people is really just a manifestation of you.
Yeah, could be. But I think, or maybe you feel that they feel.
Not me. I love your channel.
Yeah, I know that. Thank you so much for that. But I think it's the general, like the general fear, not fear, but like the general feeling that you have. And I've seen so many content creators going to the exact same feeling. It's not just me. When you are trying to do something, because you always have that self-doubt. And I also felt that, okay, I'm going to, let's say, post it on LinkedIn or Facebook. What will my college friends think about? What has she become? So, I mean, you always have that initial fear. And I feel that's the time, if you can cross that time and be consistent and still come out of it thinking that, yes, I want to do it, then that's it. It's only those that initial few months where you need to be a bit more, I would say, you need to have a bit more faith in yourself. And if you can cross that initial barrier, it's better.
I'm not sure about you, but I've got friends in sport, in work, personal life, in the UK and Australia. If I was going to have a birthday party, I would have 5 parties. I wouldn't invite them all to the same place. They might mix, but I feel like they wouldn't mix so well. Whenever you put content out, you mentioned it just then. Should this go on LinkedIn? Should this go on Facebook? Should this go on YouTube? Do you ever think of the different broadcasting channels as the friends that wouldn't mix?
I haven't thought about that. It's a good idea, actually. So I'm still exploring that, So, for example, what kind of content should I put on LinkedIn? What kind of content on Facebook? What kind of content on Shorts? Because Shorts is really up nowadays. On Instagram, for example, because Instagram, nobody's bothered to see long videos. People just want short reels, good, entertaining content, how to make it visually more appealing. So, yeah, I think you're right. But that takes some time to eventually learn all these things. I never knew all these things on day one, I'll be honest. I'm still learning. But as long as I'm learning, I'm fine with it.
What's the age limit for being good at TikTok?
Oh, anyone.
Anyone? Are you TikToking?
I've started to do now.
I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, that's why I said I just feel that, you have to get out of the comfort zone, for example, like TikTok, and then you have to customize your content according to that.
I can live with Instagram. Instagram feels like, it's fine. TikTok feels like a pair of shoes that are 6 times too small. But
yeah.
Okay, I'll take your advice on that. But let's jump into some of the content on your channel, because this is what a lot of people are going to want to hear from you. First question I've got here: what is financial freedom?
I think financial freedom to me is that having enough savings, investments, or cash at hand to be able to live the kind of life that you desire for yourself and your family. And you need to ask yourself some hard questions. Today, for example, if you're not working, you met with an accident, you want to take a sabbatical, you want to retire early, whatever comes your way, do you have enough saved up, or do you have enough investments or a plan to be able to take that leap of faith for next at least 6 to 12 months? If the answer is yes, then you've done a good job. If the answer is no, you're unsure, you're uncertain, you haven't have your life sorted out, then you're still a slave, I would say.
How early should people start thinking about seeking financial freedom?
I think in schools. Our schooling
Was you taught this in school?
I think so.
I wasn't taught this in school.
Me neither.
I didn't learn many useful things at school.
No one does, actually. School has about chemistry. And I'm not saying that's
Yeah,
bad.
sure, yeah. Like, I remember the Bunsen burner. It was
Yeah,
great
but then
chemistry.
who uses that in their life today?
Daily, every day I use my Bunsen burner.
Yeah.
I got my test tube in my kitchen, yeah.
So I think, school systems needs to definitely upgrade themselves, but also in home. I think, your home is your first school, I would say. Not a lot of parents or friends talk about that. And I'm not saying that you have to bombard them with stuff like ETFs or stocks, like it's too heavy for them, but at least help them to understand a bit more on money management and etc. The earlier you can learn, of course, the better it is. Otherwise, life has its own ways of teaching you, anyways.
If you had a 5-year-old child there, not there, I'm using a fictional 5-year-old child, should they learn stocks and shares or the piano?
Maybe they should learn piano. It's too young, I would say.
Too young.
Too young. But I would say, think that how can I make money from piano? Am I good at it? Can I create a career out of it? Can I monetize it?
What is long-term wealth?
I think a long-term wealth is something which is sustainable in the long run, at least 5 to 10 years. So coming back to, do you have a financial plan? Do you have enough investments? Do you have enough debt, for example? If you have enough debt, you probably can't really retire until you're 60, 65. So I think long-term wealth is to have that plan at least for next 5 to 10 years and investments that reap long-term return. In investments, you can expect still, but the longer you're invested in, the better it is always. Because in the long run, it all balances out. In the short term, yes, you will have volatility, etc. So I feel that, yes, having that long-term plan is important. And it could be anything, maybe real estate or investments or minimizing your debt, for example, anything, but something which has that longer-term horizon is as per me, a strategy around creating long-term wealth.
Just jumping into that bit, if everyone followed kind of perfect advice and got it right, managed their money well, retired at 55 years old, would there be enough money to go around in the world? Where would that leave society?
I think it would leave us in a better place now, because then people will have more time. People will have more time at hand. Maybe they can live a responsible life, give back to the society, do more charity, for example. The world would be a better place, I would say. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen actually.
How do you live a successful life?
I think that's a very personal, that depends on person to person. For me, I think I want to live a well-rounded and a balanced life. I don't want to live life of extremes. When I say life of extremes means just career, and no family life. No, neither it's the other way around, where I'm just so involved in my family life, I have no personal ambition. So I want to live a life which is balanced, where I have time for my family, for my own personal hobbies, my own personal growth, my career, spiritual aspects as well. So I think to me, success is a well-rounded and balanced life, and something which can give me peace of mind. And what gives you peace of mind is very person specific. For someone, it may be just chasing money. For somebody, it may be just having friends and family. For somebody, it may be, let's say, social work. So for me, like I said, it's a well-rounded, balanced life, which can give me that peace of mind that I'm able to divide my time to things that matter to me.
Going the other way, away from kind of peace of mind, the last recession in Australia, 1991, how in danger are we of facing a recession now?
We are already in recession, actually.
They keep changing the definition. So
Yeah.
maybe, are we?
Yeah, so 2023 has been the year of recession. And with all these inflationary measures coming in, it is tech layoffs happening stemming from the US. As per the Statistica report, which was, I think, released in April sometime, and I've also posted a video on my channel, Australia had a 40% probability of being in recession. Maybe with 40% is extreme, but yes, it's been a difficult year. I hope 2024 is better. But and that's usually coming from the US because of tech layoffs, actually. Facebook, Meta, Amazon, all the big fours laying off people left, right, and center. It's been a difficult year.
How long are we facing this downturn for?
I'm hoping that because when I was doing a podcast last week, and I had Josh Gilbert, who's a market analyst at eToro, so he was saying that the rates in the US is going to start to slowly come down from mid next year. And I'm hoping that would start to impact Australia and other economies who are dependent. So probably around mid of next year to around end of next year, I think we should slowly pick up pace. That is my prediction.
Okay, we've got the prediction. All right. We'll keep an eye on this one.
We'll keep an eye on that.
For episode 2 with you. Can you outwork a downturn?
Yes. I think, and I'll give you an analogy. So in the world of investments, for example, when the market is down, a lot of people, what they do is they panic, they take their money out. But in reality, it's the best time to be invested in because you can buy it at a cheaper rate. And then when the market is up, your stocks or whatever you've invested in, it would go over the price. The same is in life as well. When there is a downturn, it's the best time to invest in yourself. And I remember Warren Buffett, I was reading an article some time back. So a person, like a shareholder, he asked him that what's the best thing to beat the inflation? Like what's the best investment? So he said that invest in yourself. Because if you have invested in yourself, if you keep working on yourself, when the market is up, you can actually reap the fruits of it. So I would say the best thing is that you keep learning, you keep doing new things. If you have time, maybe do some financial education, financial literacy, pick up something which you can monetize in the future so that when things are good, you can actually reap the rewards of it.
You mentioned buying the dip. If you've started to lose money in the market, let's say things are really crashing, could you not sell and then rebuy with the losses? Because now you've got this big loss on your tax you can write off, and you can rebuy at that same low price and wait for it to climb.
But when it's up, the prices will go up. So you'll buy at a much higher price. And what you can actually do is there's a functionality called stop loss. So you can just put a stop loss. So you can decide that this is the maximum that I can bear a loss, and beyond this point, I can't. So if you can activate that functionality in your investments, you can minimize your losses as well. This is something that I learned like when I faced losses back in 2018, but I realized that this is something that you can do as well. So it totally boils down to your own personal risk profile. There are some people who have that, it's fine, we'll recover. Then there are some people who are very conservative. They are like, no, the first instant they face losses, they just panic out. So I think with my experience, I feel it all balances out in the long term. But again, it totally depends on a person. And that's why knowing your personal risk profile is so important. Like what kind of a person you are.
You are someone that probably has more access to information and data than most, or at least an ability to obtain it. Others may be going in blind. And whilst they should trust you, where do you go about getting your information and data to make decisions from?
So I usually trust authentic websites, government websites, even I'm posting some statistics. It should be from some authentic sources.
Reddit?
Yeah. So, like, for example, the report that I was telling about recession, it's from a statistical report, so which is an authentic source because I know it because I've been in this industry for long, so at least I know the credible sources. But also, not everything can be backed up by data. A lot of things are basis my own personal experiences that I talk about. So I try to mix the two of them. Data to sound more alarming that yes, this is a pressing issue worldwide. And then I always like to give my own personal touch by talking through my own experiences.
You mentioned Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett once said, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. What's your motto when it comes to investments?
I think my motto for investments is few things. My money should grow. That's number one. Just a dead money which is not growing is a dead money for me. So it should grow. Hopefully better than the inflation. Then the second is that minimizing my risk as well, because like I was talking about, understanding your own personal risk profile is important. So I would never go into something which I feel is very risky business because that's just my personal trait. I'm a bit more of a conservative person. Then the third is from an investment standpoint is to understand what life goal are you pursuing. At the moment, I don't have any dependents. I'm not nearing a retirement age. So for me, it's more about wealth generation. But it could vary from person to person. For me, my life goal at this stage, like I said, is just to grow my money and to have enough to have that financial freedom and not just being dependent on someone or my, let's say, my job or anything for living the kind of life that I want.
What kind of content can people expect to see from your channel when they start following?
So there are a few things. I have 3 playlists on my channel. So the first one is around the professional growth, which could range around tips how to grow your career, how to avoid getting laid off. For example, data says that if you go into a wrong job in the first 6 months, there is definitely a job regret. So how can you avoid that?
What's job regret?
So job regret is basically you've taken a new job and you regret taking it. It's just like a buyer remorse.
Buyer remorse, yeah. Job's remorse. I like it.
And data says that 1 in 5 new recruits fail in their role in the first 3 to 6 months because of lack of clarity, lack of fitment, and other factors. And I faced that. So that's something which I felt was important to share. The second is around finance and investments, obviously, helping people gain that financial literacy, educating them. And it's not really about like stocks or ETFs. It's about those day-to-day things. For example, utility bills. Can you even read through your utility bill and understand if there is something missing? I'm with my energy retailer, for example. They have charged me excess so many times. And if I didn't know how to even read my bill, how can I even question them? So, things like small things. I'm not saying that you need to like be an accountant or anything, but like small things. And of course, good things like stocks and ETFs and investments and retirement planning. I made a video on retirement planning as well. Even though I'm still young to make that video, but I'll still, at least basis my understanding, I've made that. So I feel that it's important to have that financial literacy. And the third is around personal development, because I feel that everything is intertwined in our lives. If you lose a job, it's not just a professional loss, but it's a financial loss as well. It also impacts you emotionally and personally as well. So I like to have these 3 pillars wherein you can live if you focus on these 3 things in your life, you can live a well-rounded and a balanced life. This is something which is my motto of success. And like I said, I think depending on your interest and everything, you can either choose to focus on a specific thing. If you're just interested in, let's say, finance and investments, you can choose that. But if you are also interested in professional growth or personal development, then you can also get knowledge through that.
You mentioned you didn't want to be just another influencer. You wanted to go beyond that. And
Yeah.
to me, it seems just as much as an educational platform. How do you want to be perceived online?
I think, see, influencer is a word which is used so loosely these days. Frankly speaking, every other person has become an influencer. So I'm not too sure if I'm an influencer or not. Maybe or maybe not. But I just feel that if I have created a content which is authentic, which is genuine, I've done my part. And I also feel all content creators should be responsible around what content you are creating. And I would like to be perceived as that who is very responsible. When I say responsible, it means that don't put something which you don't back up by either data or through your own personal experience or something you generally don't feel for. Because you never know who is just watching your video and taking that as an inspiration in their life. You have impacted a life either in a positive way or in a negative way. So I feel I would like to be perceived as somebody who is responsible in their content creation, something which is genuine and authentic, backed by my own personal experiences. And I will never say or claim things which I don't genuinely feel for.
Can we get wealthier learning from your channel?
Well, I think that also depends on your own personal appetite, your own personal
hungry.
Yeah, but I think you will definitely get wealthier by making informed decisions, by at least having the basic know-how. And yes, if you really are interested, then yeah, reach out to me one on one. We can have a chat, and happy to personalize my recommendations for you, because whatever you put out there is very general in nature, right? It's not targeted to a specific person. And especially when it comes to financial advice, you have to be very careful because of all the compliance and other things. You can't make standard statements which people just say, "Oh, Parul said," and like you have to be very very cautious to not get into all
We're
this.
certainly not trying to get you in trouble. We want people to take the good from it.
Yeah.
And if they make losses, if they lose, then it's certainly not on you.
Absolutely. But I can definitely vouch for saying that you will get a lot of knowledge by going through it.
Have you got a hot tip for 2024?
Hot tip for 2024. So basically, I did a podcast last to last week actually, with Josh Gilbert, who is a market analyst at eToro. So we discussed how the market is going to behave in 2024. So we did discuss about Chinese market. It's currently in a bit of a downturn, but how it's going to pick up next year. We spoke about crypto. We spoke about diversification, which is key to minimize your risks. So I would suggest, yeah, it would be helpful if the viewers can go to that video, which talks a lot about 2024 and the upcoming market trends.
And last question for you today. Where would you like to see this channel grow to?
I think I would definitely want a lot of people to come and see and join me in this journey. But I also am exploring different collaborations and partnerships with like-minded brands, or like I said, for example, I did a podcast with eToro because I felt they have some really good features around copy trading and demo accounts. So I'm trying to explore a lot of these partnerships and collaborations, doing podcasts, for example, because when you're doing a dialogue, it's a lot more influential. And I'm also exploring, my website is underway. So I'm creating my own personal website where people can come, and obviously they'll get a lot more information around that. I'm exploring other social media channels, like we spoke about TikTok and Instagram. So there is a lot to do. I think it's just a start. I hope it continues. And I'm just, it would be great if I can get more and more viewers who can join me in this journey.
Let's hope you will. And if people want to keep up with your journey and find more about you, where should the show, of course, but where can we find you?
So you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram. You can have my personal email address. If you want a one-on-one consultation, you can reach out to me personally as well. Like I said, my website is underway. So hopefully in about a month's time, that will be active as well. So you can reach out to me there. But in the meantime, these are all the social media channels that you can reach out to me.
There you go. In a month's time, I'll edit the show. I'll put the website in the end, sponsored by, and we'll hopefully send some traffic your way.
Definitely. Thank you so much, George.
Thanks so much for coming on.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Good luck
Thank
with
you
the
so
show.
much.
Thanks.